A couple months ago, I was involved in a video production. I am a videographer and an editor for this group, and we were working on this project, which was basically a couple of Penn students got together and sat down at a dinner table and talked about increasingly existential topics while eating. Um, and I've been watching it back recently because I'm editing it now. And during this conversation, they had to describe what their perfect ideal day would be. Now, you would think naturally that they might have visions of vacationing on like $1 million island in their mansion, happy with their friends and families, with their lives complete. Uh, these Penn students, when asked to describe their ideal day, like that they had made it, like that they knew that this was the height of luxury, they described such incredible activities as listening to music, watching TV, and feeling relaxed. Welcome back to the number one podcast in the world. This is Joey Offline. I hope you're all doing well. Please do me a favor, grab yourself a comedic looking mug of chocolate milk, and let's dive into why I want to drop out of college. It's actually really good. I got it recently, and it's nice and cold too. It's going to warm really quickly during this video though, because it's right in the sunlight. But it looks good for the shot, so the struggle remains. I've been planning on making this video for several months now, actually. I was originally going to do it back in January when I was having thoughts about it, about why I don't like this place and want to leave. And then I put it off, and then I disappeared for a month from YouTube and Discord and Twitch and everything. And I made some really big decisions. I was going to make it just before I left, which we'll get into why I left today. And then I was going to make it as soon as I got back to explain why I was gone, and then I didn't, and things have continued to progress, and now we're here today on March 30th, I think. This is probably going to go up like right after, so. And I want to talk about it, because I never really got a chance to discuss why I disappeared for a month, and it is very tied to the topic of why I don't like college and why I want to leave. So yeah, let's get into that. Over the course of February, I think the whole journey of me wanting to leave college actually started back in January. I think January 8th, something like that, 9th, 7th, whenever I had to move back for spring break, basically. That Sunday, I think it was the first Sunday of the year, the second Sunday, whatever. Whatever. Details aren't important. What is important is that morning, that I had to return back to school, I had like a mental break where I was like, oh my god, I have to do it all over again. When I go home from school, it doesn't really feel like anything. It was like, oh, this is a little weird. But then you get used to being home, and then you have to have that day where you're like, oh, now I have to go back to school. And the longer you're home, the worse that feeling is of like, oh my god, I have to go back to school. Because I don't really realize, I think, how awful some of the circumstances are here sometimes for me mentally until I'm home for like an extended period of time, and then I'm like, oh wow, this is so much better. And that's what happened over spring break. I was home for like 3 weeks. And on the day that I had to go back, I was like, I cannot do this. I'm going to die. This is horrible. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Excuse me. That's the chocolate milk talking. And so I had this mental break, and I talked to my mom. I was like, I'm gonna go through with this semester, but I do not know what I'm doing next. I feel horrible. The first semester at Penn was fun and fruitful. Like I did good stuff. Like I made mischief night. I made the worst day of my life. Like I made some videos I was really proud of, and I made like a couple of friends, mainly my roommates. But I just didn't like it. Like it sucked. And we're gonna get into a little bit of why. But that led into February. Like the rest of January, I kind of just lived. But February, I decided it was time to start making some decisions and like moving toward trying to figure out what to do instead of coming back here next year. And that took me to my old high school, actually. I'm not gonna get super into everything, like the specifics, but I ended up looking for a job, like a job that I could take next year, like a salary job. And I applied for one, and I got it, which is really weird. So I do have an option of like a full salary job if I want one. And then I did all that as well without telling my parents, which was a really good idea. I knew it would be funny. And so I did that without telling my parents. Like I traveled all the way there and I applied for the job and asked the person who knows my parents to not tell my parents yet, and I'll tell them myself. Um, so that was kind of a big statement piece of me really like saying, putting my foot down and being like, the future is now, let's do it. And my parents did kind of talk me down from the ledge of, okay, well, hold on. Maybe an education would still be good because you can still make more money with a college education. I was like, yeah, you're right, but whatever. Um, and so that led me into, that was like first week of February. That was actually like 2 days before I went on break, I think. And then I went like on my YouTube, Twitch, Discord, like everything break while I started looking at other schools, applying other places, still thinking about the job, um, and like just really kind of trying to decide what do I do next, because it's a very mixed decision for me. Because Penn sucks, but it is Penn. Like it is a huge place, and it's a big name, and it can get you a lot of money for jobs. But I don't know. Like I know that this year is going to be the best year for me because I took basically all the production courses I could this year, and those are the only things that I liked doing here, and I wouldn't have any more going forward. So I was like, it's only gonna get worse from here. Do I want that? And the answer is no. And that was most of the journey that I went on in February. Was like trying to decide what's next, and that took shape in the job application and in the transfer application that I filled out to other schools. And I'm still, like, I was hoping kind of by the end of February to have that figured out. Truth is, I still don't. And I hope to soon. But who knows, man. Uh, I think I'll have it figured out at least for next year, but who knows what happens after that, you know? Um, let's talk about why, though. I keep saying things about why, but I'm not actually saying why. I'm just saying what I did about it. So, I've had a really hard time explaining why to people because, like, my mom's asked the person that I applied for a job to, like, they asked, and I gave him a pretty good explanation, I think. But, like, a lot of people have asked me, like, why I don't really like school, and I have trouble explaining it, but I'm going to try. I haven't really liked school at all for many years, to tell you the truth, despite the fact that I've always been a good student, I think. Like, I can flex pretty hard with my academic record. Um, but probably since like 7th grade, I want to say, was around when I started to be like, wow, I don't like school anymore. Academics just are stupid, and I want to start doing fun things with my life. But I still worked hard. Like I did. I worked my butt off, despite the fact that I didn't like it. And I think I'm at a point now where I'm like, I don't have to keep working this hard. Like, I do want to keep working this hard, but I don't have to keep working this hard on pointless stuff. Like, a lot of stuff that I'm like putting 110% into in college is pointless and getting me nowhere. So that's one thing. Um, thing number two is my idea of all Penn students talk the same. That is a really general term, but I really love it. Um, and it's a way for me to kind of explain that the University of Pennsylvania, all the students here are like a hive mind, and they all want to kill themselves all the time, and everybody knows it, but they all just sit there and smile, and nobody knows how to make a human connection beyond asking people what classes they're in and what they're like consulting or like their major. Like, nobody can have an actual real human conversation. It's all like really big, really fake smiles. We live in a society, um, but it is like these like really processed factory conversations that I don't know what it is, but it feels like, because I've had similar kind of conversations with people outside of Penn, like back at my high school or back in like my like just like around other people, like people that I knew, like in workplace environments and school environments. But here it's like it feels like everybody has like an equation for conversation. Like, it feels like every single thing they do has to be part of their schedule. Like every time you want to hang out with someone, like you have to set up a time and a place and like a thing. And I know that that sounds like how you normally hang out with people, like you set up a time and a place and a thing, but it feels like here at least they do it as sort of like a checklist thing. It's like, oh, I should hang out with this person at some point. Let me do it. Let me put it here between this and this in my schedule. I don't know how to describe it in a way that makes it sound the way that it feels. It doesn't feel real. Like when you're setting up um a time to hang out with somebody, it feels more like a business transaction than an actual, like, I'm going to go hang out with my friend. It doesn't. It never feels like that. Um, I shared these thoughts, specifically these ones about like human connection, with my roommate a couple weeks ago, because I really do. I think that the only people that I've actually connected with as people on this entire goddamn campus have been my roommates. And I told him, I was like, have you had or no, I didn't even ask him. I just said, like, I have not had a single genuine conversation with anybody on this campus. Like, we've talked about things, but there's no like connection there. There's no feeling. There's no mutual like I see you kind of thing. And he took that and he moved on. But a few days later, I'm not gonna get too into it because it's his life, his personal stuff. But he was having like a breakdown on my floor, like talking to me. He was going through a lot of really tough stuff, and he had a moment where he admitted to me that he didn't want to tell me this, but that I was absolutely right. And he said, like, I was right, that he has not had like a single person that hasn't felt like a business transaction to him, and that sucks. It sucks so bad. Like, in a place with 10,000 people, you'd think that there'd be like five that you can say, like, okay, these are my friends. I can spend time around them and not talk about schoolwork or your major or like what you're doing to further your career. But there's nobody, not a single person. Like, you cannot have a conversation for 30 seconds on this campus without the conversation turning to, what is your major? What do you do? Like, what are you working on? It sucks so bad. And then I kind of grazed over this point, the one about everybody wanting to kill themselves and everybody knowing it. Yeah, the University of Pennsylvania, like, by studies, I think, like, this is actually like a proven thing, or like at least I've seen it on rankings online. Who knows? You know, BuzzFeed's like the number one source of all human knowledge. So, was that, like, of the all the universities in the country, the University of Pennsylvania ranks number one in most depressed student body. And I was like confused about that at first. Like, how can you tell? Like, before I came here, and then within a couple weeks, I was like, oh yeah, I can tell. Like, you can tell. I think, like, when you go here and when you spend time around the people here, that, like, yeah, everybody is on the brink of death. And I'm not kidding. Like, everybody is so overworked and overspent. It seems like everybody is like one step off the deep end. Like, they're a step away from falling off the deep end. Like, you can see it, like, behind like the smiles. Like, they'll say something about like how they worked for like all overnight last night to finish for like a midterm. Like, they studied all night and only got an hour of sleep. And that's like the third night in a row that they've done it, and then they just chuckle it off and move on. And it's like, you are going insane, you know? And people are just like, haha, yeah, like, it's a fun conversation topic. But it's not. It's people who are struggling a lot. um yeah, that's a really big thing for me, I think. It's just that, and people say to me, like, I've mentioned that point that like everybody wants to die. Some people are taken aback by it, but some people are like, well, yeah, that's everywhere. Kids are like tired and sad. And I'm like, no. Like, yes, they are tired and sad, but like, no, I think there's a reason that more people kill themselves at Penn than like anywhere else. I'm not going to. Disclaimer. Hey, chat, take your chocolate milk. Let's take a chalky break. Let's take a chalky milk break. Take a little sip. I'm good. I'm not going to end my life. Okay. Take a sip. Hope you enjoyed that ASMR. I'm good. No, I'm not going to end my life. But we're getting better, I think. And then the last reason that I really want to get out of here is more for, I guess, a business reason. I don't know. Well, one, it's really expensive, but everywhere is. Also, the Penn just does not have the film program that I thought it did. They have the fine arts program, which is like all the arts, and it kind of stinks because like I took like the main video class that I can, and there's like other smaller video classes, but they're not like actual production courses. Um, and so I was kind of bamboozled into that when I was looking at schools, because you see this thing about like how they have an equipment room for people to like rent out cameras and microphones and all this cool equipment, and then you get here and you're told like, oh, you can only rent out the like individual pieces of equipment that your professor has signed off on, and they're worse than what you have. Like every video project that I made, or like photography project that I do now for all my production classes, are with that camera and this microphone, because my equipment is better than any equipment that I can rent out at the Cage. And that's not a quote of like, oh, I have so much money that I bought this equipment. This was like my entire like high school career, like graduation present. And I chipped in. Like it was a huge thing, and like the whole point is that this fancy university that has so much money should be able to provide more than the individual can get their hands on, you know? So I feel kind of bamboozled into that of that I thought that this place had a better program than it did. But that's on me, I guess, for not looking hard enough. I feel like that's most of it. Yeah, I don't like it here. I know that there's more that I want to say, and I know that that's going to keep happening. So there's never going to be a point when I can make a video like this and say all the things that I want to say, because it's just never going to happen. But I think I hit a lot of it. Like, it sucks. Also, their clothing in the clothing store is like, so expensive. Like, I'm staring at my hoodie, which is right over there, and I'm looking at it, and I was like, damn, that's like a $25 hoodie at best. And it was like 50 or $60. Like, they're just so expensive. They suck you dry for every single penny that you can give them. And then they, like, will just, I don't know. That's one more thing. Sorry. We're not done just yet. Hold on. There's a quote that I've heard multiple times now from multiple different people that I think is so important, and is kind of the tagline for how Penn exists. And I should have mentioned it at the beginning, but too bad you're getting it now, because this is a good take. It is, Penn will break their students down, but then will forget to build them back up. Which is like kind of a funny statement, like a haha, yeah. But it is so damn true. Like, I feel like I see so many people that are just like in shambles, either financially or mentally or emotionally. Oh, like, of just how overworked they are. And there's just never a point where they're like, yeah, this is my come up. This is like the part where it gets better. I haven't seen that part. I've only seen the part where people are overworked to death and then survive it. There's a difference between surviving something and like living and improving. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It sucks. Penn sucks. I mean, I'm happy I went here for a year. Now I know what it's like to be sad. I'm kidding. I already knew. Yeah. Bye. Go eat your Wheaties and drink your chalky milk. God damn. 18 minutes. Whew. Bye.